life occasionally presents us with indications that simply cannot be overlooked. Small occurrences emerge as though they were mere chance encounters, even during moments when we're not actively seeking them out. You might notice an unusual type of stillness, or perhaps a message that nearly arrived but never quite materialized. A particular presence manifests itself precisely when you've made the decision to move forward. There exists a very specific instant within every profound connection where it appears that nothing has shifted on the surface, yet internally, everything has undergone a transformation. You've likely experienced a restlessness lasting days or perhaps even weeks. This sensation isn't fear, but rather an unusual sense of certainty. It feels as though the atmosphere surrounding you has grown heavier. Memories, feelings, or the sudden awareness of someone who isn't physically near reach you in unexpected ways. I want you to pause for just a moment to breathe and listen to what your heart has been communicating for quite some time. Even though your mind might try to block this out, what you're experiencing isn't fantasy or simple coincidence. What you sense is genuine. That subtle pressure in your chest and that new vibration aren't merely your imagination or a desperate wish for things to be different. It's evidence that the invisible bond between two souls has tightened. Today I want to speak with you about the person who attempted to hold on, but now feels something they can no longer hide, even from themselves. They harbor a genuine fear of losing you. This isn't that selfish fear of wanting to possess someone. It's something far more profound and more natural. When someone who carries your energy within their soul senses they're truly losing you, something awakens inside them. It's a sudden awakening that's uncomfortable and unwanted. For an extended period, this person may have lived with the arrogant belief that you would always be there, waiting and keeping the light burning, while they decided whether it was safe to come closer. But the energy doesn't remain the same the moment you changed, and your energy stopped waiting. You sent a shock through the connection that struck the center of their world. It doesn't matter how much this person tried to conceal it, how much pride they built up, or how many logical excuses they created to avoid feeling. There exists a moment on this path when the soul stops listening to the mind. At that moment, the soul listens to the emptiness and comes face to face with the genuine and frightening possibility that you might not be in their future. This is exactly what's happening right now. While you're listening to this, you don't need a missed call or a lengthy message to know it's true. You know because soul connections don't follow calendars or logic. They follow a vibration. When the other person's soul senses it's about to lose its energetic home, it begins to stir. What you're going to learn today will help you understand why this shift is happening now and why it affects you so deeply. We often think that silence means the end or that distance means forgetting. But in the world of energy, silence is frequently the place where the greatest changes occur. The person who seemed cold, distant, or confused is now entering a period where they must face the truth. Their habitual distractions no longer work. Ignoring their own feelings no longer works. Something is pushing them toward an unexpected movement. This reaction doesn't come from their conscious will, but from a deep need to find the balance that you altered when you took a step back. To understand why this fear of losing you is so strong and why it's going to cause something unexpected, we first need to understand what you did. Perhaps without knowing it, you changed the rules of the game forever. You're changing too. If you sense this energy shift, write "energy" in the comments. And this is a main part of the entire story. For a long time, your energy was probably directed outward, always moving toward this person. It was an energy of waiting, of doubt, and constant questioning. Perhaps you spent nights wondering if they felt something, if you were remembered, or if you mattered. This vibration that came from love was often felt on the other side, as a demand or a pressure that actually gave the other person enough security to remain still. While you carried the connection alone, the other person didn't need to hold anything. But something happened. You learned to choose yourself, though perhaps without even trying. You began to pull your energy back, not to punish them, but as an act of self-love. The moment you return to yourself, the vibration changes completely. This is known as the physics of emptiness. In spiritual relationships, nature and the human soul dislike empty spaces. When you stop chasing and no longer act from a place of need, a hole forms in the relationship. Before, this space was filled with your persistence and constant attention. Now there's silence. But it's not a hollow silence. It's an internal absence. I want you to truly understand the difference because it's very important. Physical absence means not seeing each other. Internal absence happens when you're no longer seeking their approval. It's the moment when you emotionally let go and focus on your own center. This absence is exactly what reaches the other person now, because before you gave them the complete certainty that you were available. Imagine two people holding a tightrope. If you always pull, the other person only needs to resist. They don't need to work to hold on. The moment you release the rope to care for your own hands, the other person loses balance. They stumble and feel the missing support, which becomes a mirror of their own truth. Without your constant energy feeding their ego, this person is forced to create their own energy to face their solitude. They wonder why the world suddenly seems colder. They feel that your heart no longer gives itself as it used to, and this shakes them more than any physical distance. Emotional absence is much stronger than silence. A person can get used to you not writing, but they can't get used to no longer having a special place in your inner world. At this point, the law of balance begins to function. By pulling back your attention, you stop pushing. When you stop pushing the other person, they stop running. There's nothing left for them to fight against. When the wall falls, they come face to face with their own feelings. It's as if life were saying that now you're ready for what belongs to you to move. This movement comes from discomfort. The emptiness you left behind needs to be filled. Since you're no longer willing to fill it with small efforts, only the other person remains to fill it. That's why you feel this restlessness. Now, you sense their energy searching for you. Even if they say nothing, they're restless inside. They look at things they used to ignore and think about what they once took for granted. Your withdrawal didn't break the connection. Instead, it cleared the noise and left this person alone with a truth they avoided for too long. This truth acts as a mirror that shows them the parts of themselves they kept in the dark. To understand why this person is reacting now, we need to look at the shadow and the mirror. Every person carries a shadow that's like an invisible bag, where we store things we don't want to admit about ourselves. It's where our fears and insecurities go. When this person pulled away or acted coldly, they weren't really reacting to you, but to their own shadow. The fear of losing you is emerging now to reveal something that was always there, but was hidden behind old wounds. While you were chasing them, you were a place for them to put their own fears. If they were afraid to get close, they could tell themselves that you were too intense. Their mind used your presence to justify their fear. Now that you've pulled away, you remove the screen they use to watch their internal movie. Now they sit alone in the cinema. They're forced to face parts of themselves they never wanted to see. This process is very intense. There's a fascinating idea that explains why they feel they're losing you specifically. Deep down in their mind, you represent an image of their own soul. We often search outside for what we lost inside. Your energy and your way of loving represent a part of them that they hid. Perhaps you represent the vulnerability they don't show. Therefore, when you leave, they don't just feel the loss of a partner. They feel as if a part of their own identity is being taken away. The fear of losing you is an awakening. They're beginning to see that you're not replaceable. They realize that what they felt with you won't happen with anyone else. This realization is heavy because it shows what truly matters. Their shadow, which previously told them to flee, now tells them that true security was in the connection they ignored. They realize it wasn't a lack of love, but an inability to deal with what they felt. This internal conflict is a battle between their ego that wants control and their deeper self that sees a home in you. When someone lives in fear, they act as if they don't care. But when the soul feels the risk of loss, that fear loses power. This essential part of them now goes through memories and thinks about words that seemed small before. They relive scenes that now seem like important pieces of a puzzle. It's as if life is showing them what they failed to value. This doesn't bring them peace immediately. It brings tension and conflict. They feel divided. Their old self wants to stay distant, but a deeper force pushes them back toward you. This internal division triggers behaviors that go beyond simple sadness. What they're going through is a major shift, even if they hide behind a normal face. There are signs you'll recognize. External silence doesn't mean internal calm. On the outside, everything may seem the same. They might go to work or see friends and appear stable. But this image is very fragile now. They're going through mental and emotional chaos. This person is discovering that you can't run from something you carry inside. The restlessness has become a constant presence that ruins their peace. One of the clearest signs of this awakening is a change in sleep. It's very likely this person is having trouble sleeping or is waking up very early, usually between 3 and 4 in the morning. This is a time when the mind's defenses are low. When the logical mind sleeps, the soul takes over and begins to speak. They wake with a heavy sensation in their chest and a fear that has no obvious cause. In these quiet moments, their thoughts go to you. They can no longer distract themselves. The weight of your absence feels real. During the day, their mind works against them. Thoughts about you break their focus. They might be driving or talking to someone when an image of you suddenly appears. These aren't chosen thoughts. They're memories that invade their mind. They don't remember the fights. They remember the warmth and security you gave them. Their memory begins to rewrite the story, leaving only the truth of the bond. This is painful because it's so different from their current life, where you're no longer there. In our modern world, this restlessness appears in digital behavior. Since pride prevents them from calling you, they seek relief by checking on you online. You may sense that this person is following your steps on social media. They don't leave likes, because that would mean admitting you matter, but they observe. They check your stories and see if you're online. They reread old messages to feel your energy. This isn't just curiosity, it's a need to be certain you still exist in their world. When they see you doing well or appearing calm, they feel both relief and fear. They're relieved you're still there, but afraid you're happy without them. This silent observation is their way of staying connected without being vulnerable. However, this only makes them want you more. Seeing you being able to reach you makes the emptiness deeper. They search for signs that you're still waiting. But when they sense your new independence, their fear grows. They're forced to face the fact that their time is running out. This internal storm grows so strong, it begins to cross over to you. Energy is like water when it's blocked. It finds a new way out. Since normal conversation is blocked, all this unspoken pain moves through invisible channels. You stop being just someone who observes and begin to feel their awakening within your own body. In a deep connection, the boundaries between what you feel and what they feel become blurred. There are things the mind can't explain, yet the heart knows immediately. To comprehend what's happening to you, remember that you share a common emotional space. It's like an underground lake connecting two wells. When one person throws a stone, the waves reach the other side. It doesn't matter how much distance exists between you. You might have sudden mood changes without apparent reason. You might feel a deep sadness or an inexplicable fear in your stomach. Most of the time, these feelings aren't yours. You're picking up the other person's emotional storm. This sadness is their pain for what they lost. This fear is their worry that it might be too late. This wave of love is the moment when their defenses fall. This emotional connection is the strongest proof that the bond is still alive. The invisible thread hasn't broken. It's being pulled tighter because someone on the other end just realized what they're about to lose. This phenomenon happens because your energetic fields overlap. You're not two completely separate beings. You're two parts of something bigger. When they feel despair, a portion of that despair flows into your space. When they feel longing, you feel it as a pull or an ache. These sensations often arrive at night when both minds are quieter. You might wake up thinking about them intensely without having thought about them during the day. That's not random. That's the exact moment they were thinking about you, with such force that it crossed the energetic bridge between you. Sometimes you may feel an urge to reach out without understanding where it comes from. That impulse isn't always your own desire. It's their wish being transmitted to you through the invisible bond. Their soul is calling yours, hoping you'll answer. But here's what you need to know right now. These sensations don't mean you should act immediately. They're information, not instructions. Understanding what they're feeling doesn't obligate you to solve their pain. You can acknowledge the connection while maintaining your boundary. This is where many people make a mistake. They feel the other person's struggle and immediately rush back to rescue them. But that would undo everything you've built. The reason they're waking up now is precisely because you stopped rushing in. If you return too quickly, they won't complete the journey they need to make. They need to sit in that emptiness long enough to truly understand what they lost. They need to feel the consequence of their choices. Only then will real change happen. Only then will they come to you from a place of genuine desire rather than convenience. The universe isn't punishing them, it's teaching them. And it's teaching you too. You're learning that your worth doesn't depend on someone else's recognition. You're learning that walking away isn't abandonment, but self-respect. You're learning that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone feel the full weight of their decisions. This is uncomfortable because it goes against every instinct you have to comfort and care. But real love sometimes requires allowing pain that leads to growth. Right now, that person is in the middle of a transformation they've needed for a long time. They're being forced to examine patterns that have kept them stuck. They're being pushed to break through walls they built around their heart. Your absence is the catalyst. Your peace is the pressure. Your silence is the question they must answer. And here's the truth that might surprise you. Even though they're struggling, this is exactly what needed to happen for both of you. Whether you end up together or apart, this awakening serves both souls. If they come back to you transformed and ready, you'll have a connection built on solid ground, rather than neediness. If they don't come back, or if they come back unchanged, you'll have learned to thrive without them, which means you'll never tolerate less than you deserve again. Either outcome serves your highest good. That's the power of choosing yourself. When you make that choice, the universe rearranges itself around your new frequency. What no longer matches falls away. What's meant for you draws closer. The person who's waking up now might be part of your future, or they might be a lesson that prepared you for what comes next. You don't need to know the answer yet. You only need to stay committed to yourself. Notice I said committed to yourself, not committed to making them change or committed to getting them back. Your job isn't to fix them or prove your worth or wait around hoping they'll finally see what they had. Your job is to continue being the version of yourself that you've become. The version who doesn't beg, the version who doesn't chase, the version who knows their value whether or not anyone else recognizes it. This version of you is powerful. This version of you is magnetic. This version of you threatens everything the other person thought they knew about the relationship. Before, they had control. Before, they could take their time deciding. Before, you were a guarantee. Now, you're a possibility they might lose. That shift from guarantee to possibility is what's driving every sleepless night they have. It's what's behind every time they check your profile. It's what's causing them to question everything they thought they wanted. And it happened not because you played games or manipulated them, but because you genuinely moved on with your life. Authentic energy shift cannot be faked. You can't pretend to not care and expect the same result. They feel the difference because the vibration changed at its core. You're no longer waiting for them to complete you. You're no longer organizing your emotions around their presence or absence. You're building a life that stands on its own. And that terrifies them because it means they're no longer the center. Now they have to compete with your peace. They have to compete with your growth. They have to compete with the life you're creating without them. For the first time, they're on the outside looking in. And from that position, they can finally see what they couldn't see before. They see your strength. They see your independence. They see that you're not broken or desperate or waiting by the phone. They see you moving, growing, thriving. And that vision is both beautiful and devastating to them because it shows them what they gave up. It shows them what they took for granted. It shows them that time doesn't wait forever. The fear that's gripping them now isn't small. It's the fear that comes when you realize you might have made the biggest mistake of your life. It's the fear that comes when you understand that some doors, once closed, may never open again. It's the fear that comes when you recognize that the person you pushed away might be the one person you can't live without. This fear is necessary. It's the wake-up call they needed. But what they do with that fear is their choice, not yours. They might let it transform them. They might let it push them to grow, to heal, to become someone capable of the connection you deserve. Or they might let fear turn to panic and make desperate moves that don't come from a healed place. They might reach out too soon with half-hearted efforts. They might test the waters without being ready to dive in. Your job is to discern between genuine change and temporary panic. Real transformation takes time. It requires more than a few sleepless nights and some nostalgic social media stalking. It requires deep self-reflection, honest confrontation with their patterns, and consistent new behavior. You'll know the difference by how they show up. A person in panic will say what they think you want to hear. A person who's truly changed will show you through sustained action. A person in panic will make promises. A person who's truly changed will demonstrate proof. A person in panic will try to shortcut the process. A person who's truly changed will respect your pace and your boundaries. So, while they're going through their awakening, your focus should remain on your own journey. Keep building your life. Keep nurturing your peace. Keep investing in yourself. This isn't about punishing them or proving a point. It's about honoring the path you're on. You started choosing yourself for a reason. That reason hasn't changed just because they're starting to wake up. If anything, their awakening is proof that choosing yourself was the right decision. It disrupted a dynamic that wasn't serving either of you. It created space for truth to emerge. It forced both of you to face what you'd been avoiding. Now you're both in a transition period. They're transitioning from unconsciousness to awareness. You're transitioning from seeking external validation to finding it within. These processes don't have to align perfectly. You don't have to wait for them to catch up. You don't have to slow down your growth. You don't have to put your life on hold while they figure themselves out. Your journey continues, regardless of what they choose. And here's something crucial to understand. The fact that they're feeling this fear of losing you doesn't guarantee they'll do the work required to keep you. Some people wake up just enough to panic, but not enough to change. Some people feel the loss deeply, but still choose comfort over courage. Some people recognize what they had only after it's gone, and then spend years regretting instead of acting. You can't control which category they fall into. You can only control your own choices. And the choice that serves you is to remain centered in yourself while staying open to whatever unfolds. Open doesn't mean waiting. Open doesn't mean hoping. Open doesn't mean making yourself available for whatever crumbs they might offer. Open means you're not closing your heart in bitterness or building walls out of resentment. It means you're willing to see who they become while not needing them to become anything. It means you can acknowledge the connection while not being controlled by it. This is mature love. This is conscious relationship. This is what happens when two people respect themselves enough to not settle for less than they deserve. The energy you're feeling right now is intense because it's the energy of transformation. Not just their transformation, but yours too. You're being called to a new level of self-mastery. You're being asked to stay steady in your power, even when you feel the pull of their awakening. You're being challenged to trust the process, even when you don't know the outcome. This isn't easy. Nothing worthwhile ever is. But you're not the person you were when this connection began. You've grown. You've changed. You've learned to value yourself in ways you didn't before. That growth doesn't get erased because they're finally starting to see what you knew all along. That growth is yours to keep, regardless of what happens next. So breathe, trust, stay present. Feel what you're feeling without acting on every impulse. Recognize that their fear of losing you is valid, but it doesn't require your immediate response. Let them sit with it. Let them feel it fully. Let them understand what it means to potentially lose someone who genuinely cared. Meanwhile, you keep walking your path. You keep choosing your peace. You keep building your life. And if they truly transform, if they do the work, if they show up ready for real connection, you'll know. The energy will be different. The effort will be consistent. The change will be evident. Until then, honor where you are. Honor what you've built. Honor the version of yourself who chose to stop waiting and start living. That version of you created this shift. That version of you changed everything. That version of you deserves to see where this path leads without being pulled backward by fear or nostalgia or the hope that someone else will finally be ready. If you accept this new cycle, write "accept" in the comments. The ebook, Reclaim Your Relationship, is a practical guide that will show you how to act the right way, avoid mistakes that push people further away, and reactivate the feeling that seemed to have ended. Everything based on emotional and behavioral psychology. It's not about chasing desperately. It's about awakening interest, respect, and longing. The link is in the description. You took the first step to transform this story today.